Who's got the intro? You got the intro?
I got the intro.
Oh, you got the intro. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wisconsin just took an L against Indiana, 78-77, lost in overtime. Absolutely heartbreaking game. Mike, how are you doing today? What are your initial thoughts?
I'm good, man. Sorry I couldn't get on earlier with you. Matt's mad, and I love it. Let him cook. Let him cook post live outside the brew in his house. I loved it. I feel like you gave us the quintessential Wisconsinite reaction, which is deservedly beautiful. You guys are a bunch of weirdos over there. I'm a Minnesotan, I mean, like, for real. But I'm a transfer. Maybe a blood transfusion away. No, I'm half Scotty. My father's from Appleton, so I feel like you gave us a great, great Wisconsin reaction, because it's true. You cannot blame the refs, but they definitely affected the game. We'll put it that way, and that's just a fact. It's not we can do better. No, they affected the game. It is what it is. There was some things that could have gone our way, a lot of 50-50 calls that could have went our way or didn't go our way. Obviously, there was a few verticality rules, which I don't understand. What's vertical and what's not? What are you going to allow? That was really what was frustrating for me watching the game is the inconsistencies, right? It felt like one team was allowed to be very, very physical. And also I'll give you that Indiana came out physical. They kind of set that, they set that tone. And Wisconsin didn't come out quite as physical, right? And oftentimes when you play in a game, and especially when you play on the road, if a home team comes out more physical, they're going to get a more favorable whistle. So kudos to them for doing that, right? Like, Indiana understands that. That's part of the game. That's the game within the game that they did a great job of. Wisconsin responded and started to become more physical, but it felt like they weren't allowed to be as physical, right? They weren't allowed to do some of the things that were allowed on the other end. And as the game goes on, when it changes like that, you kind of hope that the officials will also change with you and see that, hey, yeah, maybe they hit first, but can you change your initial reaction for that? So I felt like Wisconsin, it was tough calls and big moments, right? There was some big calls and some big moments that really caused a riff. Obviously, the verticality rule with Nolan Winter when they went up for that one I had a problem with. I didn't really like that one. That one bothered me. And the same one where Wilkerson got to the line again when he attacked Rhodey. Didn't feel like, he made a nice move, but it wasn't anything that was anything that was really primed to cause something like that. And then obviously the very last one with Blackwell, that one was rough. Like, last play of the game, he clearly didn't create an advantage, and you still give him the free throws. That one was difficult to watch. Didn't love that one. And then obviously the charge call. I've seen some very bad charge calls in my day. I've been a part of a few really bad charge calls in my day. And we had kind of talked a little bit about, the allowing how physical Indiana was to be on the press to force to that issue. And then moving, not moving. Yeah, he may have initiated the contact, but it's still a goofy situation. And it's just wasn't lovely. Wasn't a huge fan of that one. So overall, the officiating officials definitely enhanced the ability for Indiana to win that game. But at the end of the day, Wisconsin did a great job of climbing out of a hole early and had the ball and a chance to win it. John Blackwell had a chance to end the game, say, you know what, deuce is up. I'm going to knock this down and get us out of here. And he missed a very, very makeable shot, which happens. It's part of basketball. But I love the effort from them. They came out, they had to go. They were down a man again. They're down Austin Rapp. I think he came out with some illness or something like that. So for me, they gave a really good effort. We got to try and figure out a few things in the start of the game. But overall, like, very intense game. And, man, good for those guys that, it's a disappointing finish. And there's some extracurriculars that are going to get in the way. But overall, they didn't play a bad game. They came out. They played. Indiana's still a good team. They're a quad one team. So it's not going to hurt so much in the bubble conversation. And if you've never been in an environment like that, man, Indiana's a great environment for a basketball game, and it's challenging. It's a challenging environment if you're not wearing that Indiana jersey. I will say that. So, yeah, that was my initial reaction. How are you feeling now, Matt? I got to ask. Like, are you good? Are you still did you do some meditation? I think you worked out before we hopped on here. Did you lift your anger out a little bit? Because your shoulders are looking –
Well, you know what? In the spirit of complaining about things, I will say, yes, I went to the gym before this, and I am I have things to do tonight. I had to, hop on here with you. That was on the agenda. Then I have plans later tonight. And like I said, in the spirit of complaining about things, there was a lady who there's 2 bench presses. And bench presses are obviously like the hottest, like lifting. It's like the hottest spot to be when it comes to lifting. Hottest meaning like the most used. And she was not using the bench. And she just was like, I don't know if she liked the mirror behind it or the mirror over to the side, but she just had her dumbbells set like under the bench. It's not like she was doing Bulgarian split squats or she was stretching on the bench. She would just like do maybe like 10 squats with the dumbbells in her hand, not touch the bench once, but it was her bench. Like she marked her territory. And like,
she was like sitting on it afterwards.
She wasn't even sitting on it. She wasn't even sitting. She stretched. She socialized. Like some guy came over. She was talking to the guy. She was doing like all sorts of workouts around the bench, but never used the bench. Like, I understand, and I don't think this is good etiquette, regardless. But I would understand. Hey, if you're doing Bulgarian split squats on the bench, okay, I get it. Like you should probably just use a different bench that's not for the bench press. And so I understand that. Or if you're using it to stretch or whatever, she was doing nothing that had to do with the bench other than marking her territory. So luckily the other bench eventually cleared up, but I had things to do. I had places to be. So didn't love that. Give me your thoughts down in the comment section. Are you with me that is unacceptable behavior? We're living in a society here and you got to think of your fellow man and woman. So don't love that. But
Matt's mad and I love it. Matt's mad and I love it.
I would say I'm better now. I'm doing better now, but I'm sure. But that was, I will say that's the most I've been into a game this year by far. I haven't been like that juiced up, and it's not even close. And I wanted them to climb out of that hole. It would have been a great comeback, but it just, I not one to blame the refs. I said this on the live. If you've watched the Brew, both Mike and I are not guys to be like, hey, the refs did this. We lost because of the refs. A lot of people, a lot of sports fans just kind of blame the refs for everything. I'm a big accountability guy, right? So Wisconsin, they came out really cold, and they were settling for threes. They shot 23s in the first half, only made 6 of them. And there were some step-back threes. There was Carrington curling off of a double screen, pulling a three like he's prime Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on Golden State, contested, fully on the move. And I like the confidence, but when they're not falling, that's a little too much settle. So they settled too much for threes, and thank goodness Nolan Winter was playing the way he did. And I will say once 2 threes that Wisconsin hit that were massive. I think they might have been back-to-back possessions, but one, Boyd got his feet into the lane, kicked it out to Winter. Winter was ready to shoot 3. Yep. Same thing. I think the next possession, Rhodey in the first half did the exact same thing. Those are good threes. Even if the shot's not falling, that's good threes. But basketball is such a chain reaction and momentum game. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. And when it rains, it pours. And when you're 1 of 9 from 3 and you take a step back 3 and you're shooting 30% on the season, I just feel like it never goes in. So I think they settled a little bit too much. Winter played like a pro today. And whether it was shooting from the outside, he had a nice drive to the hoop early on in the game. He had 2 beautiful jump hooks, showed off some good footwork. Winter's looking extremely high level, like the guy I thought he was going to be at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I made a joke with you. You want him to be Van Wilder. Never leave. Just stay in school forever, Billy. Never leave.
Yes, cherish it, man.
I keep going. I got you.
I think it's actually like, obviously I want him to stay. I think it'd be wonderful for Wisconsin, but I don't necessarily think it'd be the worst move for him. I think financially he'll make more money if he stays next year. But 2, I will pull a Frank Kaminsky card right here, right? Frank Kaminsky could have been a second-round pick in 2014, and he wrote an article and said, hey, I could play for some empty arenas like Charlotte that looked totally boring. And the ironic thing was, he got drafted by Charlotte the next year. Yeah. But Kaminsky went from a second-round pick, and there was still room for improvement. He enjoyed being the big man on campus, one of the biggest names in college basketball, playing in front of 75,000 at Lucas Oil at the end of the season. Like, and he raised the stock from around 40 to, I believe, 9. And not everyone's like that, but I could see Winter being like that. Like Winter, and there's a chance, and I'm almost like, I don't even want to say it, but he's starting to look like a pro right now. The biggest thing that looks like a pro right now from Nolan Winter is the fact that he is moving his feet so well in defense. Like 7-footers shouldn't be able to do what he's doing. He is so switchable right now. And when they had that lineup of Boyd, Blackwell, Rhodey, Carrington, and Winter, you could switch pretty much everything with the way Winter's D'ing up right now. So, yeah, Winter was a bright spot. There's a lot of bright spots in this game, and we'll get into the calls a little bit more. I broke that down a lot in the live stream after. And if the stars align and schedules align for Mike and I, we'll definitely go live in the future. So stay tuned for that. And also stay tuned. We'll be on the podcast platforms. We're on Instagram.
Yes.
TikTok's coming very soon.
We're on Spotify at the moment. We're waiting for approval from a couple other ones that apparently we need to be approved for. I don't know.
Yes. So
we're not cool enough yet. It's fine.
We're getting there, but and then I've given Winter enough praise here, and you give me your feedback real quick on that one before we kind of move on to other things.
I think you're spot on. His confidence has grown. I mean, we knew he's just won that genetic lottery, right? He's a 7-footer who's fluid athletically. That's part of his genetics. That's something he's worked on. He's progressed in that, which is great, and that's going to allow him to play at the next level. It just depends on what he wants to do, right? Like he's going to have the opportunity if he's a first-round pick and gets a guaranteed contract. Man, go do it. If you feel like you want to develop more and cool, and the thing is, the longer you stay in college, the more critique you get. Everybody wants young guys that are raw. Raw potential is so interesting compared to, hey, this is real production. And that's kind of the thing that happens in the NBA. But for him, yeah, he's going to have a chance. Just, the fact that they can pay him now, I mean, he's going to fetch a pretty penny, and he's going to make money in college. So it just depends on what you want, how you want to move, and where you want to go to. What's his ultimate goals in life. So ultimately, it's going to end up to him. But the opportunity for him to play at the next level is going to be there, whether it's NBA, high-level EuroLeague. Like, he's going to be in some of the better leagues in the world. Like, he definitely belongs in those top 3 leagues in the world for sure.
So here's the thing. I agree. The longer you stay, the more critique you have. But a lot of that, I believe, is for guys who have come close to reaching their ceiling or reaching their peak, like physically developed guys. You have a guy like Nolan Winter who's only scratching the surface of his potential. So I agree with what you're saying. There will be more film and more opportunities to critique him, but when you're only scratching the surface, I don't think that applies as much. Right? Like, I think of, and there's always exceptions to the rule. I can name a few off the top of my head where it's like, hey, Malcolm Brogdon was 24 at the time of the draft. He carved out a good year, and Nolan Winter's just a regular senior. And Sam Hauser, he redshirted his senior year because he was a junior, left after his junior year at Marquette, worked his tail off on his redshirt year, and came back way better in his 5th year than he was as a junior. So and he was kind of older for his grades. There's always exceptions to the rule, but I think Winter is a unique situation where he is just blooming in front of our eyes. And if he keeps doing what he's doing right now, okay, he's gone. He's gone. But
Maybe it's. I don't know if I feel like he's going to be a lottery pick.
I don't either.
That's the thing. Is like, if he's a lottery pick, okay, I think he should go. But outside of the lottery, it gets a little bit interesting, right? Those first rounds, because those aren't necessarily always guaranteed contracts, and he probably can make more money next year for Wisconsin. I know they're going to introduce their NIL package next year, and he's high on the priority list. So, and he obviously, I think he wants to stay there. I think he likes the program. I think he likes Gard. There's benefits to it, right? So, pros and cons. But I think if he's outside the lottery, it makes it a more interesting situation for him to decide, right? If he's in the lottery, it's like, hey, man, get out of here. So we'll see.
Yeah. And pivoting back to the game, I'm going to say Boyd. Shout out to Boyd. He went 5 of 6 from 3. They were going under on the screens. He was making them pay. And I respect Boyd in the first half. I think Wisconsin might down. I think he scored the first basket to make it like 3-8, and he's shushing the crowd, like telling him to kind of sit down. And I'm like, I respect talking trash when you're down, because that takes stones. It's always easy to talk trash when you're up. Oh yeah. But when you're down early in the game, I respect it, because then the crowd is going to be after you more the rest of the game. And then the next guy I want to pivot to is Blackwell. Both him and Rhodey had a really rough first half. Blackwell snapped out of it, but 2 of 14 combined from the two in the first half. Both teams had 0 free throws in the first half. And I feel like there's like a mode where Blackwell can shift into where it's like, I'm gonna leave my mark on this game. And he did that in the second half. And he did his thing. He got busy, as you like to say. But it's like we needed that earlier. Like the Wisconsin needed that a little bit earlier. That mindset has to stay there. And he was doing it defensively too. He clamped down on Wilkerson on that last possession. That was a terrible call.
But other possessions, he was engaged defensively.
He was. He was dragging Wisconsin along with others, but he was saying like, we're getting this dub. And I just love that second half and overtime from Blackwell. He was a dog. But I think he and others, they just got these slow starts are killing him.
Yeah, the slow starts are an issue right now. We've kind of had, 5 or 6 games in a row where these first 10 minutes, they just are kind of trying to find their footing, right? They're trying to feel themselves out. It seems like their motion offense really kind of revolves around Boyd touching the paint. We really rely on Boyd touching the paint early, and it's just a lot of – I don't even know how to describe it. They need to get punched in the mouth to then show up.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of how they feel. And there's guys like that. Like I just remember at times, like shout out to my old teammate, Jared Berger. And there would be times where we would enter games and, he ended up getting the school record for block shots until Frank Kaminsky beat him. But there would be times where like all of a sudden, like Berg is kind of engaged, not really. And we'd be early in games. And then all of a sudden, like, something would happen. A guard would talk some smack to him. He would get hit in the mouth. He would miss a rebound. Something would like turn on the monster in him. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a first team all Big Ten center. Like just feeling like, oh, I'm here and you can't deal with me. And for whatever reason that happened to him. I mean, he played well often, a lot of times, but there was times where all of a sudden something would happen. He'd get hit in the mouth and just, dang, like that dude's a dude right now. And we really want to see that out of our starting 10 minutes, but we just don't have that for whatever reason. They don't turn this sense of urgency. It seems like it takes them 5 or 6 minutes to really ratchet up the physicality defensively. And I don't understand that so far. And then obviously, they're taking good shots in the beginning of the game, but they are still searching for threes a lot, right? Where I kind of wish they would continue to work their Euro motion. And we talked a little bit before we hopped on. It's like, why don't we just go through Nolan Winter for like 6 possessions to start the game? Like Boyd and Winter are the 2 guys that have to touch the paint. And if either one of them don't touch the paint, we don't shoot the ball. Like little kids rules where it's like, you have to make 5 passes. It's like, no, these 2 dudes have to touch the paint before we get a shot. If you shoot before that, we're going to have an issue. Because we need to see some of that. I really want to see them. We talked about this earlier since the Minnesota game or even the Villanova game. I was like, man, we really need to find these high-low passes for Nolan Winter more. And it feels like Rhodey's the only one that's really willing to throw him the ball when they get into that small, big switch out of the Euro motion. It feels like Rhodey's got the best angle, the best mindset to be like, hey, I'm not necessarily going to score. I'm going to get to this angle, and I'm going to throw it to my giant 7-foot center who has a tiny human on him at the moment. So I would like to see more of that from them, especially starting these games. Some people are like, hey, can we maybe put Carrington in the starting lineup, which I don't agree with at all. I think we need him off the bench. He's a great spark plug off the bench. He plays starters minutes anyway. So, for the dynamic of the team, we need Rhodey to make plays. Like outside of Rhodey shooting the ball poorly, and you can clearly see his wrist is affecting him. On a few of his shots, he's got a little bit of a hitch. It's not as fluid as it normally is for him. The last shot in the corner, it didn't really feel like it looked great coming off of his hand, and it didn't look great for him physically. But I really love Rhodey's playmaking out of the pick and roll. We need more of that. We definitely need more of that from him.
Yeah, and so – I think we hit on most of the guys. I will say there was a pretty high low from Belauskas. I know that's big to big. There was a nice one from him. But what I think I'll break down the just kind of crunch time and some of the calls a little bit because what was so frustrating from me in this game, why I was getting so intense is one, it's Assembly Hall. Those games are always fun. Like that is just the crowd is so into it. It's a battle. It was a physical game. Yeah, like it was just
Badgers.
But my problem is I felt like Wisconsin was outplaying Indiana, but Indiana like beat them in overtime. Despite I think Wisconsin played better. I think they played better the last however many minutes of the game. but Indiana ended up winning. And Wisconsin went on like a 10-0 run, 12-0 run late in that game. You could tell Indiana was getting flustered because Wisconsin bit down on their mouth guard, and they were just playing so hard defensively, so physical, so aggressive. They were battling like that grit. They were bringing that grit defensively that they didn't have in November and December. And, you wish they would have brought a little bit earlier, but boy, were they going hard. And it felt like Wisconsin was getting the best of Wilkerson. And my breakdown of this is I feel like Wisconsin outplayed them down the stretch, obviously, to come back. But with Indiana, I think they had like one layup from Wilkerson, but it was him getting bailed out by the refs. And a lot of it was, I thought Wilkerson was mad because I saw Carrington with 2-3 minutes left really clamp down on him. I saw Winter, and I saw Blackwell redirect him 2 or 3 times. I saw Rhodey redirect him and cut him off. And then I saw, when Winter late in the game was on him, like he was staying right with him and blocked a shot, which should have been a jump ball right before they got that layup. But they, I thought he was getting really flustered. And because he was getting so flustered, he just gave up on trying to put the ball in the hoop. And he would just barrel down, put his head down, flail his arms, and hope the ref bailed him out for a foul. And they did. And you know what? If that's the way they're calling it, I don't blame him. But it really wasn't basketball. I mean, there's one that I sent to you where he just took, he got, I think there's 2:20 left in the game. The ball ended up with him on an offensive rebound. It was when Wisconsin was on defense, and it was a battle down low. It was like the second or third attempt. And he just caught the ball, took a dribble, and just flailed into Blackwell. Not a basketball move at all. Not trying to make the shot at all. Just praying that the ref bails him out. And that drives me nuts. It reminded me of the 2015 national championship. Like, they just started bulldozing into Wisconsin, not even really trying to make the shot, just hoping the ref called the foul. And it worked out for Indiana. But looking at some of the plays, and Angry Matt is coming back out. But, like, you look at like Wisconsin, they clamped down on Wilkerson. Wilkerson got clamped.
Defensively, they made some adjustments on him. He wasn't hitting that, that little pull-up he was hitting in the first half. He wasn't getting as much. They were doing a good job. They tightened up, definitely, and I agree with you on that. But
small ball lineup, switchable lineup, and every single player was doing really good. So I thought almost like the entire Hoosier team was just like flustered with how well Wisconsin was defending, and they were playing emotional. And Wisconsin, to me, like kept their cool in a heated environment much better than the home team did. But throughout I just wrote down throughout the second half, the final stretch, you have 50 seconds left, like you talked about. And Help D, he did get by Rhodey a little bit. And Help D comes over, or Rhodey, and Winter comes over on Help D, and it goes total beautiful verticality when Wisconsin's up 4 with 50 seconds left, and they bail him out. I mean, that was a total bailout. It wasn't even close to the hoop. Great defense by Winter. Winter kicked his ass there. And then Wisconsin doesn't score the next possession. And then with 20 seconds left, I thought Rhodey played pretty decent defense on Wilkerson. That one, to me, wasn't as egregious, but they called him foul, of course, and resulted in free throws. And then going to overtime, the 2:20 mark, that was my least favorite one. And I'll do an overlay if I have time. But you guys can also look up the clip. But him getting the ball, making the ugliest basketball move you'll ever see in order to try baiting the ref into a foul. I hated that. That was my least favorite. And then 40 seconds left. Nolan Winter was on him, switched on him, stood right with him, blocked a shot, jump ball. Should have been a jump ball. I think it would have been Indiana's ball, but nonetheless,
it was still gonna be Indiana's ball. They had possession because I looked at it too. I was like, that should be a jump, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
it was going to be there.
Nonetheless, they did score after that. I mean, who knows if it would have been a jump ball? Who knows what that momentum would have led to? So that frustrates me. And Indiana was playing so physical, over the back, getting away with so much, as you were kind of saying earlier. And then Wisconsin trying to dribble the ball out, and Boyd. I mean, he probably should be weaving in and out through the half-court situation. But he dribbling the ball out, I've never seen that before. Mike has seen more than me, but like Boyd is running away from the hoop, and whatever that kid's name is, Enright comes crashing into him, and it was a collision. Yes, Boyd extended his chicken wing, but it was a collision of Enright running into a guy who was running away from the hoop. Charge call, and then the next possession, Blackwell D's up. He D's up once again on Wilkerson. and he took the chair out. So I redirected him twice, and then Wilkerson tries going right through Blackwell, but Blackwell knew that was coming because that's what he was doing. Takes a step back. Blackwell's not there for him to bulldoze into, so he loses his balance. Just kind of flings the ball up. Refs call foul. Game over. Indiana wins. And I'll give Wilkerson credit for hitting those free throws. But to me, as a guy who really tries not to blaming the refs for everything, that was as bad as it gets. That's one of the worst officiated games that I've seen ever. And I don't think I'm speaking in hyperbole. I really think that's one of the worst I've ever seen in my life.
Wasn't great. We'll give it this way. Everybody has an off day, and those guys definitely had an off day. That's about the best way you can sum it up. But I do want to ask you, so what do you think of the health of the team right now? Because we got some guys that are kind of banged up. They talked about, Rhodey's wrist is messing with him. Obviously, we were missing Rapp today. I know Carrington's been dealing with some stuff. It seems like, Blackwell is finally coming back from his ankle injury. How do you think the overall health of the team is right now? How are you feeling about that? And then the other thing is, obviously, this is a very difficult environment to go into, right? So my other question for you is being in such a difficult environment, Gard, it really looks like Gard trusts about 6 guys right now. 6 to 7 guys. He's really, really trusted. He's got a really short bench. He didn't even really use his other bigs today. So just kind of curious, what you think about who are the guys that he trusts the coming March? So first thing is overall health of the team, and then the second question is who's going to be closing out these crunch time games, especially these bigger games coming up?
I do notice that Belowskis and Rapp typically aren't in that final crew. In his final crew, a lot of times it's Rhodey, it's Carrington, Boyd, Blackwell, Winter. That a lot of time is kind of the final crew, or Janicki for Carrington or Rhodey. So he likes to go kind of small ball towards the end of games. Those are the guys, in my opinion, that he trusts late in the game. And then health-wise, I mean, yes, it sucks. It sucks getting hurt, but playing college basketball, playing pro basketball, that's a lot of basketball. It's going to take a toll on the body for everybody. I think most teams are pretty banged up right now. And you hope that Rhodey in particular, hopefully his shot improves once his wrist heals up a little bit. But I think most teams are banged up right now. So hopefully Wisconsin can hit their peak health come March and make a run. But I'm not sure where Wisconsin compares to other teams when it comes to being worn out and just banged up.
Yeah. It's mostly just, how are we feeling about, because we got two really big games coming up these next weeks. So, we play, I think Illinois first and then Michigan State or Michigan. No, Michigan State, right?
Michigan State Friday night. I got Wisconsin's taking that. I'm calling it right now. Wisconsin's taking down Michigan State.
Is it at Michigan State? It's at the Breslin?
The Kohl Center Friday night.
We get to go back home. Okay, we get to go to the crib. Maybe some shots will fall. They'll feel good. We get to see red instead of green, make us a little more angry. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Jeremiah Fears, because he did something vicious to one of the guys on the Gophers. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
He made Draymond proud, man. He made Draymond proud.
I didn't even think about that. Oh,
yeah, man. That's you made Draymond proud. Draymond somewhere is smiling.
Oh no, that's correct. That's definitely correct.
Draymond's a man. But yeah, I'm gonna predict a loss. It's at Illinois Wednesday. I'm gonna predict a loss there. I hope I'm wrong. And then a dub against Michigan State. You want to make your predictions and talk about anything else, or should we wrap this thing up?
I think we can wrap that up in terms of predictions. We'll see. I feel like Nick Boyd's going to show up and be like, Illinois is really big, but I don't know if they got the guy. Like, they have a lot of size, but they're not quite so fast as from what I've seen. Wagler is a super tough point guard, so it depends on how we handle him, and they got a couple other good bigs. So we'll see. Illinois will be a tough game, but I think – I think they're going to go 2-0. I feel like this team is going to be pissed off about this loss here and say, we shouldn't have that. They're going to go into the Michigan State game, take care of business, and then go to Illinois. I think they go to Illinois, right?
Yeah, go to Illinois on Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah, tough place to play. Champagne's an interesting place to play. Their arena is always good, especially when their team is high level like they are now. So it used to be better because they used to allow the student section on the courtside seats. So you could hear all the things that were all the mean things about you and your family that you didn't know you needed to hear. That was one of those things. But yeah, I think they'll go 2-0 this next week. Looking forward to it, and I think they can regroup. Right, we need more of that team in the second half. If we can get that, we should be good.
Yeah, and someone on the live left a comment saying if Wisconsin loses these next 2 games, they'll be a bubble team. And okay, maybe at that time, but I will say this team, you give Gard, Winter, Blackwell, Boyd, and they like each other now, and they're playing confident and aggressive. Unless there's some locker room chaos, this team's making the tournament, and I think they have the potential to make a run in the tournament. And I also will throw one more thing with Illinois. I think I heard the announcers today say Kylan Boswell's out for them. And honestly, I don't even know that's a point guard who's been around for a minute, 2 years at Arizona. This is his second year at Illinois. Honestly, don't even know. I think it might help. I don't think it'd be a good matchup for Boyd. He's kind of portly and not that fast. So I think Boyd.
Portly. Oh, yes.
So,
hey, you've been throwing out some great words on the live. You were throwing out some great words. You've been in your thesaurus recently.
Yeah, I did. I've been locked in on that thesaurus.
I like it. Hey, we might have a word of the day coming up. Matt's word of the day.
Ooh, Matt
gets mad. I also think we need to get what makes Matt mad. Whatever makes Matt mad. You were cooking today. I loved it. I was a fan. So that's all I got.
Appreciate that. But with sports, like a few years ago, it'd be much easier. I'm much more laid back now. But I appreciate getting mad because that means I still care. I don't want to get to a point where I don't care anymore. So I really have
passion.
Passion's a wonderful thing. There's people who don't have passion, and that's not a fun life to live. So
that's not what Scotties are about. That's not what we're about here at the Brew. We got to have some 100%. Sort of passion.
Yes, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making it to the end of this video. We will be back again soon. Stay tuned to where we are on the other platforms. And yeah, Mike, anything else?
No, check us out. We're on Spotify for sure right now. We're waiting for our other ones. We just uploaded our Instagram page, The Brew. Check us out there. Give us a follow. We're going to have some clips, some funny stuff there, everything like that. But thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the comments and continuing to grow this. And appreciate you, Matt. Thanks for hopping on a little bit later with me. And I'll talk to you soon, a couple days. I think we got a game coming up soon, so we'll do something else.
Sounds great, brother. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.